Well, I am honestly surprised about how much I enjoyed the first two episodes of this series. And yes, you heard me correct. Episode 0 and Episode 1 came out today at the same time. And so if you've only watched Episode 1, obviously you missed Episode 0. So if you've only seen Episode 0, also Episode 1 is out. So I'm just letting you know, FYI, if you're unaware, 2 episodes of this series came out today. Kado, the right answer. So yeah, honestly, I didn't think I would enjoy this series. I really didn't. When I saw it on AniChart and all that, and I was reading the description, I said it had potential because of the way the description was, the setting and all that. There was potential for it to be good. But at the same time, though, I looked at, the person that was working on at the studio, Toei Animation. Toei Animation can make some good stuff. Don't get me wrong. They can make some good, anime here and there. But I was kind of skeptical because of how this is supposedly going to be a full CGI series. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was a little bit misled and thrown off with Episode 0 of this series, because it really threw me for a loop when I was watching it. I walked into this series thinking it was going to be, full CGI. Episode 0 is straight up 2D art animation. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I was kind of curious. I'm like, wasn't this supposed to be full CGI? So I continued watching and all that, just like thrown off, because I thought that's what it was about. And I continued with the episode and all that, expecting a shift or whatever. I thought I was confused, and I actually got into the actual episode. I just completely disregarded my thoughts about the CGI or, the 2D animation, and I just started focusing on the episode, and overall, it had a very interesting premise to it. I liked the way the show presented the characters, but also the characterization to the main character of the series. Now, mainly I'm talking about Episode 0 right now, because Episode 1 is where, the main plot kicks into play with the summary of the series. So Episode 0, it might kind of bore some people, and the reason for this is because it's an episode with not a lot of action. It's mainly about a character trying to save this factory that is going to be shutting down, and he's gone there to negotiate to buy the land from them. And because of how good of a person he is, or how he's good at negotiations, he decided to go out of his way to figure out how he can help both sides have a very good deal, instead of fucking over this dude and taking away his land. So I like how the character was given characterization, and how it showed how far he would go to get a very good deal. And he seems to be a very good guy deep down. So the first episode, Episode 0, was spent focusing on the character, kind of letting us know what type of person he is and what he will try to do throughout the entirety of the series, which makes sense because if you've seen the summary of the series, we know this is going to be kind of a political series. It's going to be a series focusing around negotiations, politicians talking with each other, trying to figure out what they need to do for the world. That's kind of what the series is going to be about. So I know with that first introduction to his character with Episode 0 letting us know about him, I was really happy with that. I was like, yes, this is what you should do with, an actual first episode. You should set up the premise, but also give characterization to the main character to let us know who he is, how he works, and also should we care about him. And then Episode 1, going into the next one, which came out today as well, that episode focused on the setting, the premise of what the series is going to be about from this point onward. So I feel like the way these episodes were split, Episode 0 and 1, it was a perfect amount of time to get the point across of what the series might be like. And I like how the pacing was done. Many might disagree with me and say the pacing of the first 2 episodes were pretty damn shit. It was very slow, there was not a lot of action, and some might even say it's very boring and they're going to drop it instantly, which I can understand that because of the way it was done. I mean, if you're walking into the series expecting a lot of action, explosions, and shit like that, you're probably not going to get that. It seems like this is a type of series that's going to be focusing more on combos between characters, and characters trying to figure out, how they can make a good deal with the other. And that's what I feel like the main point of the series will be about. Now, Episode 1, with the setup, for instance, the setting, letting us know what it's going to be about, there's this giant cube that lands in the city, and it pretty much crushes an entire airport, and supposedly a passenger airplane gets crushed by it, and after a lot of footage and stuff, apparently the Japanese government and all that, they realize that the plane is most likely not been crushed. Nobody's dead. It just seems like it was absorbed inside of the cube, and so they decide to do a rescue operation, trying to figure out what they need to do to be able to penetrate this giant-ass alien-like cube, get in there and save the people. And I like the little details that were thrown into the first episode, like episode 1, with letting us know how, I guess, cautious the Japanese government was being towards this, you know, actually unidentified object. I mean, if something just lands in your freaking, you know, country, you don't even know what it is, and it's gigantic like that, obviously you can't just go up bringing up tanks and shit and shooting it instantly. You needed to first experiment and see what you're dealing with, and I love how that was gradually built up with episode 1. They were detecting for radiation, they were detecting to see if, you know, it would strike back or attack. They were slowly just, you know, probing it just to see if what would happen with the reaction of equipment, to, you know, seeing if they could even get closer to it, and then eventually it led them to where they realized that the overall cube surface was something that was completely crazy. You couldn't see inside of it, which was completely alien technology, something they've never seen before. And so the caution of the Japanese government, I really love that aspect about it. And I feel like many might not like that because of how slow it was, because it didn't crank up to have anything happen until towards the end of the episode, but I personally appreciate that, just how real that was, because you can't just go in and start beating the shit out of a fucking cube that lands in your country. You just can't do that. If it's something that alien or whatever, that massive, you gotta take precautions. And I like how cautious they were, but also how they were just being calm and making sure that nothing is blown out of proportion to where, you know, everybody panics. And that was a really good way to do the first episode, setting up what type of series this is going to be. So yeah, episode 0 and episode 1 of this series, Kado, the Right Answer, I'm relatively impressed. I really am. I'm impressed with these first 2 episodes. I didn't think I would enjoy it. I really didn't. I thought I was gonna hate it. I thought I was probably gonna skip it or whatever, but even with the CGI, like it's switching from the 2D art animation from episode 0 to CGI, full CGI in episode 1, I'm honestly impressed. I mean, I'm gonna be real here, the CGI does not look as good as the 2D art animation from episode 0. It honestly kind of looks a little bit like shit when you do a comparison, but thankfully, thanks to episode 0, giving some characterization, but also how, I guess, good the content was of episode 1, I was able to look past the CGI. And so, that's how you know you have probably a good series here. And so, I'm happy. I'm happy with what Toei Animation did with this, you know, first 2 episodes of the series. I'm definitely going to continue watching it, and it's definitely something that has caught my interest. So, be honest to me, how do you feel about the series? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And yeah, I love you all. Please be safe. Chibi out.